Hey guys, welcome to Exotic Car DIY. I'm Kenny, and today I'm going to be showing you how to put an SRT exhaust on a Jeep Grand Cherokee with just a Hemi. So cars to me serve different purposes. I have three weekend cars particularly, one for the track, one for the beach, trails, and camping, and the other one when I want to pull a Ricky Bobby and want to go fast car. Anyway, but my Jeep on the other hand is my daily driver. And I'm okay if those are loud, and they are pretty loud, but I'm not okay when the Jeep is particularly loud. The irony here is I have three weekend cars and I almost never have a weekend. And so primarily the car I drive the most is now the Jeep. It's my daily. And I kind of want to just relax in it. I don't want it to go brrr everywhere. And I like the good rumble. However, this one kind of has more of a one of those squatted trail clappy sounds to it, and I don't like it. It came with it, and so ever since I've got it, I've been looking for stock exhaust for it. Probably like the only guy looking for stock exhaust and can't find any. So last night I actually drove all the way up to Charlotte to buy this, like 6 hours each way, and I'm so excited to now have stock exhaust on my daily driver. But an SRT exhaust will not bolt right up to a Hemi. You do have to modify it a little bit. So this video is going to show you how to put SRT exhaust onto just a regular Hemi. So stay tuned, guys. Thanks. Now, I know some of you are watching this video because you want to know how to do it yourself. Other people, you're just going to take it to a muffler shop. You need to know what to tell them. So here is the issue. You can see mine is a suitcase already deleted, but this right here is already original. So right here, the outside diameter is roughly 56, almost 57 millimeters wide. And these bolts right here are roughly, what was that, 102 millimeters apart. So if we come over to this exhaust, you can actually see we're at 120 millimeters apart, and the outside diameter here is about 63. So they are not compatible. However, the inside diameter of this pipe is roughly 60. So simply what we're going to do is we're going to cut it off here. If you have the stock exhaust on there, you'll still have it cut right here. We're simply going to slide the other exhaust over it and do the weld right here. That makes a very nice strong weld that's easy for even beginners to do. So before I get started, the other way I've been told you could do this is you can swap out the Cadillac converter pipes and the manifolds to the 6.4 SRT ones. That just seems way overkill to do what we're going to be doing. So I still think the easiest way is just going to be cut the pipe. So I've taken measurements. The measurements are identical from the lengthwise, so we should have plenty of material if we cut it here. However, you can always cut off more. You can't cut off less. So I'm going to start the cut here just in case we need that material, and if not, then I'm going to cut it back to here. So we're going to do one cut here, test it, and then we're going to come back to here. So to do our cuts, I like to get it started with a cutoff wheel, but because I don't have a whole lot of access and don't like sparks, I'll switch to a Sawzall after that. All right, now that we've got the exhaust cut, we can go through and undo all our rubber holders here. What I like to do with these is just squirt a little bit of WD-40, and it helps you get the rubber off a lot easier. So they actually make a really cool tool that makes this easy, but that would be too easy. Maybe once I get enough subscribers, I'll invest in one of those. For now, I'll just use strength and grunting. 1, 2. Now we can try to lower this down without dropping it and smashing it all over and bouncing off the Ferrari, my face. Notice without the suitcase here, they don't really stay together very well. Okay, now that the exhaust is removed, the next step is mandatory. You always have to start the car with the headers off just to see what it sounds like. Okay, that steps down so we can move on. All right, so now that we're outside, we can do kind of a proof of concept. So in theory, this pipe slide in there easily, which it does. So all we need to do is cut this off so we have something to weld to. Alright, so now we're ready to put the exhaust back in. Use jack stands if you're on the ground. I'm going to use my exhaust jack. Wish me luck. Alright, so it's half on. Let me go up here. So this is the only problem that you're going to run into when you do like a, I'll leave it too long to see if I need to cut any more off, is now I got to test it up there once, take it back down and recut it probably. Boom. First try. Okay, so now we're going to put it on the hangers and figure out where the tips are going to set, and that'll let us pick where we're going to snip these off. Okay, so remember how I said this is the test fit. So if we come back here and check this out, this looks terrible right now. We're sticking out about 2 inches up top here. So if you remember, I left a lot of material first just for measuring purposes, and it looks like I've left about 2.5 inches of room. So now that I know that I can actually cut these off, I'll have 2.5 inches more to slide forward. So I ended up actually taking the flanges off just to take a look at them, and check this out. So this is how ghetto the previous modification was. If you look in here, they actually, this pipe right here was actually choked down, and it is inside this pipe. So if you look inside there, it actually goes down to whatever that is. So it's supposed to have 2.5 inch exhaust. It goes to like 2.25 because of that, and that's just unacceptable in my opinion. So we actually might see a little bit of improvement having it done correctly. So I went ahead and took these off so I could trim them a little better and to show how this whole thing works. So again, this is the pipe from the Hemi. It's probably 2.5, and this one is 2 3/4. So I cut these off. Inside here is a pipe, and this pipe easily slides inside that pipe very snugly actually, which makes a really easy surface to weld. Even a beginner can weld that. The only thing I got to figure out is how much more of this pipe I want to trim off, so I can tweak where the tips are going to be. Alright guys, so here is where we're at. I have trimmed the suitcase down to about 1/4 inch of material. That still leaves pipe inside, and I left this at about 2 inches so it can slide in there. It left a nice area where we can do an easy weld, but I'm not going to weld it on the car. I'm going to weld it on the ground, but I am going to tack it in place. I've put, since I'm working alone, I use come along straps to kind of hold it roughly into place. I still gotta like push this up a little bit. I'm gonna go ahead and tack this, put it on the ground and weld it all up. Now it is tack welded, so we're gonna take it down and finish the job. Should be a pretty easy weld. There's nothing strength wise. Most of the strength is gonna come from the pipe being inside of another pipe. And remember, I've said this in another video, I am not a welder. I can make things stick together, but please don't judge me on my welds. Anyway, here we go. All right, here we go, into the car for the last time. So let's see if I can do this. I hate this. So we've got the exhaust bolted on at the front. Now it's just time to get these other mufflers into place. Oh my gosh. I think I should have put that on before I put it up, but then it would have been too heavy. Who knows? This exhaust jack does make it quite easy, or much easier, to actually push the exhaust up into place so you can get these clamps in. But still, they do take a little bit of force to get them in. Okay, so now the only mounts we have left to do are the two on the top of the mufflers, which I'll try to do now. All right, so the exhaust is welded back up. I've gone through and aimed the tips, and I'll show you something about them in a second, but now it's time just to hear the difference in the same spot you heard the old crappy exhaust. And so let's see if it sounds any different. Much better. It's got a nice little rumble to it, but it doesn't have any obnoxious stuff to it. So I'll definitely have to take it for a drive and see what it sounds like, but hopefully we've got a good system on here now. Alright guys, so the SRT exhaust is installed, so let's test it out. So I've driven this for about an hour or so, and I've got a pretty good grasp of what it sounds like, so I'll go into that in a second. But real first, let's talk about what this system is and what it is not, the pros and cons for the SRT. Now for me, I have a little bit different perspective. I was just trying to replace that really crappy, ghetto, clappy sounding exhaust that was on here before, and it just so happened that an SRT exhaust popped up before a regular stock exhaust. So this was perfect for me. But for you, you're probably just wondering, what does an SRT exhaust do for my Hemi? So let's talk about it. One, they're cheap. I almost got this for 50 bucks. I paid a little bit more just to secure it since I was already driving up to get it. But you can find these typically on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace for like 100 to 400 bucks, maybe tops. So that is significantly less expensive than say an aftermarket system like a $1,400 Corsa system. Two is actually performance. So I know this is a Hemi, we're not trying to drag race these against an SRT, but if you're gonna install something, it at least should maybe help the car out a little bit. So the stock pipes I measured at 2 3/8 or 2 1/4 inch. These are actually 2 3/4. So that's a significant upgrade over stock. I can't speak for what stock mufflers are like, but these mufflers are a straight through baffleless design. Even the suitcase, you can see right through them all. So as far as restrictions go, there are none. That's about as good as you're gonna get. And three, I guess, is the ease of install. So it fits exactly where the stock exhaust fits. All the hangers are over there. And if you're like me and you maybe have a $100 Harbor Freight welder, or you're gonna take it to a shop and pay them 100 bucks to do it for you, it's actually a relatively easy install in just an hour or so. Four is also subjected. You could call it a con if you're looking for more sound. It's not very loud. If you're looking for sound, this is probably not the exhaust for you. Now, from what I've heard, it does sound a lot better than the Tesla quiet stock exhaust. There is a little of a rumble, obviously, when I floored it a little bit ago. You do hear a nice grumble in the higher RPMs, and it has a nice little deep shift to it, which is nice. That actually sounded kind of cool. There also seems to be no drone at all on the highway. In contrast, that exhaust that used to be in my car droned like crazy, especially when it went into the 4-cylinder mode on the Hemi. But as far as like Flowmaster rumble, you're not gonna get that. For me, that was a huge plus. I didn't want this. Let the Ferrari and the Blazer be loud. This car needs to be relatively quiet. And the other drawback I'll mention is just the tip. So the SRTs have the Shrek ears exhaust tips, and they're really made for the SRT bumper that has the rear valance for them. If you install them on a car like mine, they're gonna stick out just a little bit like you see here. It's not obnoxious, it is doable, and from behind it actually looks pretty good. From the side though, that's where it kind of looks a little bit awkward. So I had no intention of keeping these tips long term. There's actually a market for these, and I could probably sell these tips and make money going to an exhaust tip that looks better for these. Now the caveat there, if you have a high altitude or a newer Summit exhaust, you should be able to swap your tips over to these just fine. So overall, guys, I would recommend doing this. It's relatively easy, especially if you have a sawzall and a welder, or you can take to a muffler shop. It sounds good, it's not loud, it probably adds a little performance. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe or comment below. Plenty more Ferrari videos, Jeep videos, Blazer videos, Mercedes videos. A lot more to come, so stay tuned, guys. Thanks. So in case you're wondering, you can transport the entire exhaust system in your Jeep Grand Cherokee using this kind of orientation and a bunch of your wife's pillows and towels. Just don't tell her about that part. So get a good piece of foam or some kind of protection, because that one's kind of close to the window. And as you can see, the suitcase part is actually all up here in the front, like this. These studs do get kind of close to the radio. They're right about here, so just put something there in case you have to hit the brakes hard. But as you can see, it fits in here nicely.